so much calcium in all purpose. You always say no calcium for flowering. And then another question, I'm on the 4th week of flowering and I cut out the cow mag and now I'm getting cow deficiencies on the leaves. I'm also positive that's what it is. It doesn't look like rust fungus, so I'm pretty sure it's calcium deficiency. What week should I cut out the calcium? If you haven't checked out my other video around BioLife versus the 4 down to earth products I recommend for my living soil recommendation, I recommend do so because it is kind of connected to this video. Okay, so I love going back and re-listening to videos I produced, especially 3 years ago. Like, I think I'm entitled to be able to change my viewpoint or opinion, or even just be more clear. So the video that they're discussing is product that's titled "Stop Using Calcium in Flowering" or something. Obviously, I got to make some clickbaity stuff, right? So you guys click on the video. But in the video, there are things that I do say that I wish I probably didn't use as strong of language. So I apologize on that. But when I do go back and I do listen to the video, there are things that I do mention that I think are missed. So I'll explain a little bit why. In the very end of the video, I talk about why this video is, I think, extremely important for synthetic growers, right? So I'm going to now talk about, obviously, dry amendments and living soil versus liquid nutrients. In these questions, he's talking about liquid nutrients, and this other gentleman made a comment on dry amendments. So for when you're growing living soil has the ability to pick and choose what it needs. The bacteria's, they're hungry for stuff and they're going to eat what it needs. And you're giving things to your soil to feed the bacteria that the bacteria then go on to use trace minerals to produce enzymes for your plants. So that is the mindset of this. I don't want to ever say it doesn't matter what you're giving your plants, but when you're putting certain types of dry amendments in your soil at certain times, it's going to affect your plants different ways, like putting bone meal on versus lime, right? Both have calcium, but one is a much more slower release because it takes time for the bacteria to break down bones, right? It takes years at times versus another form that's already been ground down. It's in a powder form and you're lightly putting on the top of the plants. Bacteria are going to be able to break that down much quicker than if you're using a much harder form of calcium, things along those lines. So for calcium, though, to kind of just explain what is calcium used for, calcium is an immobile nutrient. Then you got to think about the stage of the plants, right? So right when you pop the seed, all the way until about week 4 into flowering, and we're talking about the regular 8-9 week flowering plant, the plant's growing, it's stretching, it's producing a lot of stem, it is producing a lot of leaves, it is getting very bushy. And when you flip it to flowering, it then accelerates that growth even further. During that entire time it's growing quickly, you need to provide some source of calcium, or there needs to be some source of calcium being provided to the soil if you're using living soil, or it just needs to be in the environment so that the bacteria can break it down and make that calcium water soluble. So that being said, during that entire time, you need calcium. When you go later into flowering, though, this is my viewpoint, this is what I see, you don't need as much calcium. And that's what I probably should have said in that video. You don't need as much calcium. And that's why when I recommend my dry feeding schedule, I tell them to use the higher concentration of lingonite as you go week 4 into flowering. But at the same time, my growers are still giving them 444, right, of the down to earth, or some concentration. Maybe they're mixing their own nutrients at this point, but some type of concentration where it's a basic NPK about the same. But then we're jacking up the potassium as you get later into flowering. And it's being put into a form that is relatively more water soluble than the other contents that are in 444. So I'm backing off on the alfalfa and the kelp because I find that you don't need that because the plants best utilize that in an earlier stage in growing. But you got to remember that in dry amendments, everything has calcium. All these amendments come from plants, rocks, like anything that's growing at some point in its stage, it used calcium, right? And rocks, molecules like common molecules. And the world we live in a big distillation system, basically. So certain rocks and certain types of rocks will be concentrated in certain areas of the world. And that's how we end up getting our minerals, right? On the dry water soluble form. So if you're using like a dry amendment, there's going to be calcium in there. If you're using a rock amendment, there's a better chance that it's going to be more of one form than the other. So that's that part. You never get away away from calcium. You just make phosphorus and potassium more available to the plant as it goes later into flowering, because that's what the plant needs as the flowers get produced and as it stops growing and less calcium is needed. And I know there's different things, right? There's three. There's dry amendments, and then there's like dry amendments and rocks that have been solubilized in water in one form or another. And then there's just straight salt-based fertilizer that's made in the lab. So liquid nutrients, that is a more water-soluble form that you're not using dry amendments, then you have the ability to actually get down to the nitty-gritty, which another question I was asked a little bit later on about knowing the specifics of nitrogens and potash. And I recommend checking out my buddy's channel, Ethos, on Instagram. I'll put his link on the video and then also in the description. He gets into more of the nitty gritty. In this specific conversation, what we're talking about is when you're using liquid nutrients and you don't have dry amendments and it's in a water form. First, you got to remember that I am the type of grower that actually recommends to having very little water runoff. Why is that? It's because you're also flushing your plants and you're flushing out your enzymes, and it takes about 24 hours for bacteria to break things down. I know if you're using salt-based fertilizers, you shouldn't, but it's hard to get away from life. So there's always bacteria on plants. There's always that process going to happen. They might go more dormant as you get past 900 parts per million, but bacteria are always moving, even if they're moving on a very slow process. So with that being said, I recommend not having a large water runoff when using synthetic nutrients. So if you follow that mindset and that process throughout the entire grow and you stay on top of your watering and never allow a drybacks to happen, there should be remnants of calcium, right? Even if it's a soil that's growing media, there should be, because that's the job of coco coir. Jobs of coco coir in all these spaces is to retain minerals throughout the process. As long as you don't flush them out of your soil by overwatering, those minerals are going to be locked up through magnetic charges in your soil. And as long as you don't over fertilize and you stick to a consistent water regimen, those minerals will stay in a solubilized form and they won't dry back to a rock or a salt, which will then cause other issues. Which then gets back to this question. He's in week 4 in flowering and he's seeing a calcium deficiency. I'm pretty sure it's probably not a calcium deficiency. What's probably happening is you're having an excess phosphorus and potassium issue, which locks out calcium, magnesium. I'm not saying I'm positive on this, but normally what I see is when people run into calcium deficiencies week 4 into flowering, they're seeing a calcium lockout, not a deficiency issue. And the majority of the time when I get into this, the grower missed the watering. He checks his parts per million. They're too high. Maybe his frequency of watering's irregular. Normally something like this happens where the salts will begin to form back. And I ask you, is there white residue built up around your pots on the outside? If you're using fabric pots, you normally are going to see some white residue. That's salts they're building up, right? That turn back to a crystal. And I do apologize on using such strong language in that last video. But if you listen to it, I do talk about, like, for synthetic nutrients, when the plant stops growing, a lot of these nutrient lines, they just keep adding in that calcium. And calcium is in every liquid bottle. So in my viewpoint, it's like, if the plant stopped growing, do we need to keep providing such a high concentration of calcium as we go past week 4 into flowering? Yes, you're still going to need some calcium. Plants are always growing. They're always producing leaves. The leaves are always expanding. When you see like this calcium deficiency, normally halfway through into flowering, it's not a deficiency, but you normally see the calcium lockout. That's because like the leaf is still expanding, right? And those little reddish dots that appear on the leaves, it's because the calcium wasn't available while the leaf was growing, right? That's why also you'll see that elongated leaves in the new leaf growth. And you can also see it around week 3, week 4, week 5 into flowering. The newest growth of the leaves before the flowers really start to form and you can't really see it anymore. The new growth is elongated, right? And why is that? Well, it's thin and elongated. Well, the calcium's getting locked out and there's no new calcium for new growth on the newest leaves. So I really do wish I knew what I knew while growing a decade ago. I ran into all these same problems and I was very fortunate to have the Drops Balance in my hand as a product to use, but I didn't understand how it was so powerful. And it takes time for you to see more growth. Like when you're growing yourself, you're this close to your problem. But then when you start to consult other people, you have a chance to step away and you start to see patterns and frequency through this process. And you start to just see how these deficiencies appear at different points. And that's why also I've been like, hey, I don't know if you really need as much calcium as you go later into powering. And that's what I should have said in that video, especially now as I recommend more my same feeding schedule with the dry amendments. And also when people hire me for liquid nutrients and their yields increase, their THC content increases, their terpene profiles increase. It's hard for me to go back and say I was wrong on still providing the amount of concentration of calcium because my growers have found a lot of success in these recommendations over the last decade or so. Anyways, this video is a little lengthy, but I get a lot of questions still from the release of the video 3 years ago. So I thought it was about time I got into more depth and detail. Hope this video was helpful again. Have a great grow.